After Chipmunk, the Nerevarine, became Archmage of Cyrodiil's Mages Guild, he set to work finding a cure for the minor case of vampirism he contracted while fighting off Mannimarco's horde of necromancers. He suspected time magic would work, turn back the clock on the curse, resurrect himself without relying on necromancy. Being the Archmage, he kinda had to keep up appearances. To be fair though, he didn't come up with this idea on his own. It was his fellow mages who suggested it. He didn't earn the position of Archmage due to his magical prowess, after all. Who needs magic when all you need is your magic fingers? Ramonis Polus helped set up the ritual. He even provided the dozen soul gems required, and would sacrifice a sizable portion of his own magicka to churn those Akatoshian magics that permeate Nirn. With a single blink, Chipmunk found himself in a cave. The vampirism was gone, but where was he? He remembered a shipwreck, a storm at sea, and a task. Find the letter. The Emperor wants him to find a letter. His gut never led him astray before. So I got my start on YouTube by making RuneScape videos. It's been a while since I've made a RuneScape video, but the game still holds a special place in my heart. And that's why I'm excited to announce that this video is sponsored by Jagex. Oh, right. Oh, narratively spurious cyborg, wow. Old School RuneScape just launched Leagues 5, Raging Echoes. It started today. It's a time-limited event running until January, where you start off as a fresh character in a version of the game just full of absolutely broken mechanics. You know how in a lot of RPGs, there's a way to become absurdly overpowered by exploiting certain mechanics in unintended ways? Leagues is like that, but it's intended. Experience is boosted, drop rates are increased, and as you progress through the game mode, you unlock powerful relics that will alter your path through the league. And because everyone is starting fresh, this creates a perfect environment for competition, either among friends or on the high scores. Jagex is offering a special promotional Leagues membership package for both new and returning players. It's available for purchase between November 26th and December 3rd and provides subscription access for 57 days at a discounted rate. You can use the link in the description or in the pinned comment to learn more. Classes in Daggerfall are a bit more robust than in later games. Oblivion, it's just a pre-selected choice of 7 major skills and 2 attributes. In Morrowind, it's 5 major skills, 5 minor skills, and 2 attributes. But in Daggerfall, it's 3 primaries, 3 majors, and 6 minors, a set spread of base attributes, a set amount of health earned per level, and a handful of advantages and disadvantages, like innate resistances or critical weaknesses, things like that. The monk class, of course, has hand-to-hand as a primary skill, along with critical strike and dodging, both of which occur randomly, so leveling them is random. Majors are swimming because monks are good at swimming, medical because monks are good at medicine, and blunt weapon because bow staves. Swimming hardly ever comes up, medical determines how much you heal while resting, and blunt weapon we're not going to use. The minor skills are useless except for 2, jumping and climbing. One affects your skill at jumping and the other affects your skill at climbing. Unexpected, but that's just how it is. The weapon skills are, like blunt weapon, going to be left untouched. Although we can't alter our base attributes, we do get some bonus points to allocate. We want to max out our speed as soon as possible, since this affects not only our movement speed, but also our attacking speed. The faster we punch, the more damage we do. A bit of agility helps too for dodging and accuracy. Chipmunk's a Monkadabella, baby, so this seems appropriate. Lastly, we get to place 18 points across our selected skills, 6 to each category. No magic skills for this monk, a bit different than Morrowind and Oblivion, where they got Restoration and Alteration, respectively. But Daggerfall monks do have the advantage of resisting shock and magic by 25%, which adds further to the Breton's inherent 30% magic resistance. And monks also gain a maximum of 14 points of health per level. And they can't wear armor or shields, I'm sure that'll be fine. Putting the whole gimmick of getting Chipmunk to time travel aside, the real reason we're in this dungeon is because we were sent, at the command of Uriel Septim VII, the same one from Oblivion, to find what happened to a letter he wrote to the Queen of Daggerfall. The ship we were on met some harsh waters and sank, but we managed to make it to land, at the bottom of a dungeon somehow. Regardless, we're here in the province of Daggerfall, one of several provinces in the Iliac Bay, and it's our job to find the Emperor's letter. He didn't tell us what he wrote, but it must be important. This place, Privateer's Hold, I'm gonna assume most of you haven't played this game, so I'll try to be as explicit in my explanations as possible. Explicit as in detailed, not explicit as in offensive. So this place is a great starter dungeon because it does a good job at scaring off tons of people. Not because it's hard, but because it kind of shows you what Daggerfall is like. Dungeons full of monsters that you may or may not be able to actually hit. Since we have hand-to-hand, we can hit everything. Like Morrowind, hands don't count as normal weapons. An explanation I heard is that our hands are inherently enchanted with our own soul. But I digress. It's a good tutorial. Once you run through this place enough times, you can just avoid most of the enemies and book it to the exit. Every time I play Daggerfall, I seem to level up before leaving this dungeon, even if I'm rushing through it, and that's probably by design. It also shows you what leveling up is like. The way leveling works in Daggerfall is simple-ish. If you get 15 levels across any combination of your 3 primary, 2 highest majors, or 1 highest minor skill, the next time you rest, you level up, granting you 4 to 6 points to allocate into any attributes. As I said earlier, speed is king, so all 6 points go to speed. Now let me talk about some of the mods we're working with. First, if it wasn't obvious, this is Daggerfall Unity, a fan-made port of Daggerfall to the Unity engine. I like old games, but DOS is a narrow bottleneck for me. I am so glad enough people liked Daggerfall to make it for Unity, otherwise I would never have played it. The next most obvious mods are the enemy health bars and the hotbar. Maybe the health bar is game breaking. The developers didn't intend for us to see our opponent's health, but I don't care. I want to see it. The hotbar is pretty simple, it just lets you keybind things to the hotbar. I have a mod that makes the quest journal more concise and gives the map more definition. There's a nudity remover mod because TOS. There's not a ton of nudity in Daggerfall, and it's mostly just ambient nudity, but I don't want to take the risk. And finally, the Archaeologist Guild. There are a lot of factions and guilds in this game, and the Archaeologist Guild functions just like the rest. You could do quests for them, rise through the ranks, and get rewards specific to the guild. The only reason I downloaded this mod is because they give you an item that can cast Recall. I can't cast it myself since I don't have enough spell points, and training Mysticism just for Recall wouldn't be very monkey. The item only has 30 charges, and recharging it requires a higher rank in the guild. Spoilers, partway through this run I realize Recall potions are a thing, and I start using those. Recall is super important for getting the hell out of dungeons. It is just too important, I wouldn't play this game without it. So if you think this mod is game breaking and ruins the run, tough. When Chipmunk went back in time, he grabbed a piece of Raminus Polis's shirt and it was enchanted with teleportation juice. Finally, there's an option native to Daggerfall Unity that simplifies the non-story related dungeons. The vanilla dungeons in the game are absurd. I imagine a kid coming home from school in 1998, booting up the family computer and spending the evening meandering their way through Dunwich Kingston Barrow in search of mummy wrappings because Grimaloft Buckingsill at the Mages Guild told them to do so, but they've only got 5 more in-game days to find it. And of course, this kid was making a little checklist in the margins of his notebook when he should have been paying attention in class, but he was too busy thinking about Daggerfall, and he had to note down all the stuff he had to do. Sounds like it would make for some nostalgic memories. But it's not 1998, and I'm not a kid. I'm technically a man, and I don't have time for this kid stuff. Look, I'm going to Tulun, and I'm taking out a bank loan. Would a kid do that? Horsey, yay! Not long after leaving Privateer's hold, we receive a letter from a courier who disappears into the crowd. This'll happen a lot. The letter is from Brissienna, an agent of the Emperor stationed here in Daggerfall, but she's a spy, so don't tell anyone. She'd like to meet with us, and she says she'll be at the Beaver and Huntsman in Chesterwich for the next month. A lot of these places where you have to meet people is random, and the names are... you'll see. Meeting with Brissienna at this point is actually optional, but it helps give you some guidance with where to go next. This is Brissienna, beautiful, a gorgeous woman. She gets us up to speed on the recent goings-on in Daggerfall. The king of Daggerfall, King Lysandus, is dead, and his ghost haunts the streets of Daggerfall after sundown. The city of Daggerfall, not the province. Every province has a city named after the province. He screams about vengeance, and his legion of ghosts assault his former subjects, you know how it goes. Brissienna would like us to investigate this matter by asking around the Iliac Bay, talking to the local leaders in Sentinel, Wayrest, and Daggerfall, and perhaps others. As for the letter, it was supposed to be hand-delivered by an agent of the Emperor, but due to the war, an agent hired a courier instead. We have no idea who the courier was, but they may have succeeded in delivering the letter anyway, so we should ask around Castle Daggerfall to see what we can learn. But we've immediately hit a roadblock. The Queen of Daggerfall, Queen Aubke, doesn't think we're skilled enough to do what she needs us to do. We gotta be level 3. Leveling is pretty easy if you take some magic schools as your primaries or majors. You can just spam cast low-cost spells and zoom through the levels. You don't have any schools to train, so we gotta figure out something else. Most of our skills level up directly through combat, except climbing, jumping, and swimming. And medical, kinda. Those skills don't level very fast, though. Instead, we can join a guild and buy training. I wanted to join the Temple of Dibella, but our skills don't align with them, unfortunately. This is 30 years in the past, after all, and the Dibellan monks haven't yet learned the way of the Tender Fist. Instead, we join the Fighters Guild. Not only do they have trainers, but we can also rest here freely. We don't have to go to an inn to pass the time. And since we can only train once every 12 hours, what we'll do is buy some training, rest for a bit, and buy more training. Training only costs 100 times your character's level, so it's not very expensive right now. Not that it matters, we can just take out a loan for 100k in a different province. The bankers don't run background checks. You can have loans in every province if you want. You're supposed to pay it back after a year, but if you don't go back, what are they gonna do? My initial thinking was to have them train me in blunt since it's my highest major skill right now. I won't be using blunt weapons, but I just need these levels to progress my overall level. That's all I care about. But then I realized medical would be way more useful. Infinitely more, actually, since 100 blunt is no different than 0 blunt for this run. The Fighters Guild doesn't teach medical, however. Fighters can't use bandages. The Temple of Arcade does, though. Every province has their own temple faction. Think of it like them driving out all the other ones. So we have to leave Daggerfall and go to the Alessan Hills. There are several temples here, but they're all basically the same. They might have slightly different layouts and maybe the NPCs will look different, but the services are identical. We join the temple, buy training in medical, exit the building, fast travel to a different temple so we can quickly pass the time, enter another temple, and buy training again. We can do this until we get medical to level 50, or 50%, as Daggerfall likes to put it. 50 is the hard limit on buying training. But instead of just buying training, I took a detour and went to a Fighters Guild quest dungeon. And while running through the halls and punching warriors and bandits, we ascend to level 3, unlocking the next part of the main quest. Almost immediately after leaving the dungeon, we reach into our pack and we find a note that hadn't been there before. My oh my, where could this have come from? It's a summons from Princess Morgaya of Wayrest. Not from Queen Aubke as we anticipated, but from royalty from a completely different province. Well, she seems a touch more proactive than Aubke, so let's go visit her first. Try to guess who Morgaya is. Her name is perfect. It's the best named NPC in all Elder Scrolls canon. It's just, the aesthetic matches the name. Like you would, if you looked at her, you would give her the name Morgaya. Is it her? Nope, that's Queen Baranzaya. Yeah, she's not a dark elf. Daggerfall's a bit weird in that way. She looks like Wonder Woman. It's her. That's the most Morgaya-ass looking person I've ever seen. She's even got a cat. Somebody named Morgaya would have a cat. A black cat. This lady's a witch and I love her. She's also supposed to be a dark elf. She's Baranzaya's daughter. Just pretend. She's got red eyes. She has information about the letter and is willing to make a trade. Knowledge for a favor. There's a powerful sorcerer beneath Scourge Barrow in the Dragontail Mountains, and she would have us deliver a letter to him. Who is this sorcerer, you may be wondering? None other than the King of Worms. Mannimarco himself, the guy we punched to death in 30 years. Wait. Time travel's weird. Morgaya warned that this trip would be dangerous. Necromancers aren't known to host visitors, so any and all constructs we happen to come across won't hesitate to attack. Like Morrowind, there's a randomness to your accuracy, and zombies are surprisingly agile. So their evasion chance is pretty high. Our hand-to-hand level is still kinda low though. You have to be level 3 to get this quest, but Bethesda probably expected you to be a bit stronger than the bare minimum, so it's my fault for coming here too early. Thankfully, we don't have to kill anything. If we know where to go, we can just book it through the tunnels and deliver the letter. There's a lot of booking it in this game. How did a bear get in here? And why is it easier to kill than a zombie? The King of Worms. This meeting would be awkward if he knew what I'm gonna did to him. Or perhaps Oblivion's Mannimarco is a pretender. Or something else. I have a little theory that I talked about in my Can a Monk Become Archmage video, if you're curious. We give him the letter, and he gives us one in return, an answer to Princess Morgaya. There's something I really like about what he says here. If my servants don't kill you, give this letter to Morgaya, please. So dismissive, so polite. He doesn't need us to play mailman. He has other means of sending communications, but it'd be convenient if we went ahead and did it. So please deliver the letter. Try not to get killed. The letter from Morgaya was a marriage request, and it seems Mannimarco agreed. Morgaya is to wed Mannimarco's firstborn, Riemann Karudil. Mazel tov. Editing just background noise here. I completely misunderstood what Morgaya was asking of the King of Worms. She offered the King of Worms her firstborn in exchange for arranging the marriage to King Riemann Karudil of the Somerset Isles. The King of Worms was able to do this because Riemann Karudil used the King of Worms to contact his dead son. Felt I had to clear that up. Because at first I was thinking, Mannimarco doesn't have any kids, we don't know about any of them, why would he have a firstborn? That makes no sense. Anyway, back to the video. In exchange for the favor, Morgaya tells us that the Emperor's letter is in the hands of the Orcish warlord, Gortwog. He had bought it from the Thieves Guild after one of their members stole it from Queen Aubke. Morgaya does find it odd that the Emperor would send a letter to Aubke though. She's not much of a mover in the Iliac Bay, being so young and new to the throne, and her husband, King Gothrid, isn't nearly as loyal to the Empire as Lysandus was. The former Queen of Daggerfall, Lysandus' wife, may be able to help clear some of this up. Morgaya suggests we talk to somebody of a lower station first. You know what that means? More leveling because we have to be level 5. They really must have expected you to put off the main quest for some time, which is odd because the first letter you get insinuates a strict time limit. Definitely an odd choice, and maybe we could discuss the game design aspects of this when I do a more in-depth Daggerfall video, rather than just a run, so we'll save it for then. Anyway, leveling. We have options. First, we can do some guild quests. Kill stuff in dungeons, collect loot, typical Daggerfall stuff. Aha! The more damage I take, the more I'll heal while resting, which means more medical XP, I think. It may be like magic where the strength of the action is irrelevant to the amount of XP you get. Simply performing the action gets you the XP. So healing while resting might grant one chunk of XP regardless of how injured you are, but I'm not sure. This dungeon module here, this kind of architecture, this design with the water at the bottom and all that, it shows up a lot in a lot of dungeons, and there's a little alcove here. I have no idea why you take so much damage when you enter it. I guess the floor is made out of poison or something? If you climb on the walls and don't touch the floor, you don't take any damage. Maybe it's supposed to be like wall darts triggered by a pressure plate. Daggerfall requires a bit of imagination. Behind this locked door, which we can pick by employing the way of the hidden foot, is a treasure room. We got a short skirt. I guess that fits chipmunk and all. It's not a shirt, and that's what's important. Ooh, a long skirt. Can't give everything away. Again, Daggerfall. Leave a bit to the imagination. Another quirk about Daggerfall is that you can't really leave a dungeon to resupply and start it back up where you left off. Yeah, you could recall back to the middle of the dungeon, but everything respawns once you re-enter. Dungeons aren't randomized or anything, so you'll still have the map progress for what you already did explore, but you'll have to fight through a bunch of enemies again. The enemies can be randomized though, so maybe you'll have an easier time the second go around. I believe the humanoid enemies scale to your level, but some other enemies don't, and they might draw from different tables based on your level. Not exactly sure how the scaling works in Daggerfall. Just know if you're a higher level, you're gonna be fighting higher level things. Wow, what? How novel. Thanks for telling us this obscure fact, just background noise. All that is to say, it makes grinding combat skills a lot easier. You enter the dungeon, beat up the first enemy or two, leave, re-enter, beat up the enemies. That's level 4. Only 5 bonus points this time around. You could try save resetting to get 6 every time you level up, but I don't really give a shit. 5 more points to speed. Since Critical Strike is a primary skill, it doesn't need to be higher than the other 2 primaries to contribute to a character level, unlike Majors where only the 2 highest contribute. The Fighters Guild sells Critical Strike training. I didn't notice this at first, so after spending a few days and a few thousand gold at the guild, we hit level 5 and can carry on with the next part of the main quest. We'll power level Medical with the Arcade Priest soon enough. The Dowager Queen might be able to shed some light on this missing letter, but she's unlikely to tell us anything right away. Instead, we talk to Sindasa, a maid in the Castle Daggerfall kitchens. We got an itchy back, and she's got an itchy back, if you knows what I'm saying. There's a werewolf in the Tristori laboratory she wants us to deal with. In the vanilla version of the game, the dungeon she sends you to is random, and the werewolf could be anywhere in that dungeon. Well, not anywhere, since dungeons have specific, important locations where quest items and monsters can spawn, but navigating vanilla dungeons is a nightmare. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is a plate of spaghetti. If she sent us to a random dungeon, the simplified dungeon option would have been ticked off on that dungeon, and the dungeon would have been simplified. But because we're always sent to Tristori Laboratory, the simplified dungeons option isn't activated. That is, this dungeon is unchanged from its vanilla counterpart. It's considered a story dungeon, so it stays complicated. Let me explain what I mean by simplified dungeon. So you see that little Tetris piece there? The pink represents the dungeon's internal blocks, the core parts of the dungeon. The orangey yellow represents border blocks. They're used primarily as connecting spaces to attach internal blocks to each other. You'll typically find corridors in these blocks. That red dot is our location. Blocks are made up of 4 squares the size of that red block in a 2x2 formation. So this dungeon has 4 internal blocks and 8 border blocks. That doesn't mean 4 rooms, though. A block can have several rooms, and the rooms can be a nightmare to figure out how to get through, because they could be invisible doors and teleporters and hidden pathways, and it's rough. Fortunately, because these are story dungeons, UESP has guides to help you get through if you get lost. If this dungeon were simplified, it would only have a single interior block and 4 border blocks. The insidious thing, mean even, is that the werewolf we have to kill isn't even that far into the dungeon. Take a left when you enter the dungeon, take your next left down another corridor, continue all the way to the door at the end, killing the enemy that tries to ambush you, and enter a big cavern of sorts behind the door. The werewolf is literally down in the pit well area, whatever this is, the amphitheater, I don't know. So much of this dungeon is unnecessary for this quest. If you don't use the guide on UESP, you will get lost and be stuck looking around this place for ages, and you might run into other werewolves. There could be other werewolves in this place, and you wouldn't know if you killed the right one because, like, are you gonna get a quest message for it? Well, you do, because when we kill this one, the correct one, it transforms before our very eyes, becoming a young man who bears Not a werebear. A strong resemblance to Sindasa. How intriguing. Returning to Sindasa with the news, she reveals the werewolf was once her brother, and putting him down was for the best. As payment, she tells us about the Emperor's letter. Sindasa brought the letter, addressed to the Queen of Daggerfall, to Queen Aubki. Aubki, upon reading the letter, realizes it wasn't meant for her, but for Minnesera. Aubki, after absorbing the shocking contents of the letter, told Sindasa not to worry about it. She'll hand the letter off to Minnesera herself. Minnesera, being the Dowager Queen, is still here in Castle Daggerfall, so we might as well ask her why she hasn't responded to the Emperor's letter yet. Based on Aubki's reaction to the letter, it probably mentions something important, but Minnesera says she never got the letter, that Aubki never gave it to her. She wants us to do some snooping. She never did trust Aubki, and she suspects there are some nefarious happenings. The Dowager Queen suggests we track down the Emperor's messenger, Uthastair Woodhouse. Why did he deliver the letter to Aubki and not Minnesera? Was she the castle's male person? I feel like there's a plot hole here, but we'll just pretend Sindasa is Aubki's handmaiden, and the letter was delivered to Aubki's handmaiden instead of Minnesera's handmaiden, and the handmaidens always bring letters to the person they're handmaidening, so that's why Sindasa got the letter. Uthastair Woodhouse is usually on the move, carrying messages across the region, as a courier is wont to do, but he's also a member of the Knights of the Dragon, so the Knightly Order may be able to help us track him down. Minnesera gives us her signet ring, designating us as one of her trusted agents, and gives us the name of a different knight we should meet with. At the Woodcroft residence in Warham, we ask Balladara Heartstone, these names are literally Mad Libs, where the courier is, so we can shoot him in the head and take the platinum chip. She says he'll be at the palace in Oxway in 31 days. Traveling there only takes about 4 days, so we've arrived a bit early. Fortunately, an assassin arrived with me to keep things interesting. On his body is a letter with the assassin's orders, addressed only with a single letter. A. Chipmunk's old nemesis, the alphabet. To pass time quickly, we travel around the province, fighting off assassins when they attack, until Uthastair arrives in Oxway. The trees look like someone with their hands on their knees sticking out their ass. Uthastair Woodhouse tells us that he takes his job very seriously. When he was tasked by an agent of the Emperor with delivering the letter, he followed the instructions exactly. The letter was addressed to the Queen of Daggerfall. The Queen, at the time of his delivery, was Aubki, not Minnesera, so he gave it to Sindasa. I don't know, that's weird. The letter was sent before Lysandus died, when Minnesera was queen, but it arrived in the courier's hands after Lysandus died, and Aubki became queen. It turns out addressing a letter to an office rather than an individual is stupid. Now we know no malice was involved on the courier's part, and we know Aubki used the opportunity to learn something that perhaps the Emperor didn't want her to know. The letter was meant for Minnesera. According to Aubki, the letter was stolen before she could give it to Minnesera. Convenient that. Morgaya told us who has it though, and Minnesera wants us to follow up on that lead. We're off to Orsinium to meet with Gortwog, chieftain of the orcs. Gortwog wants nothing more than to be recognized by the Empire, to be seen as equals to all the other races of Tamriel. A little cooperation on his end might help with that. The orcs aren't much of a political player in the region. They occupy a smaller area near the Rothgarian Mountains known as the Orsinium area. Not even a province really. It's why you can't play as them in Daggerfall. They're viewed more as monsters than as people. I need to figure out a way to heal myself in combat. The letter doesn't mean anything to Gortwog, but it is in his possession. We may have it, he says, if we're able to get it. Orsinium is full of orcs who, unlike Gortwog, aren't as lenient to the presence of an outsider. How very dark elf of them. If we're able to fight through Gortwog's halls, we'll earn his respect and be allowed to keep the letter. Like the other dungeons, if you know exactly where to go and what turns to take, you could zoom by all the NPCs and pick up the letter. But in this case, I'd rather do some fighting and potentially level up. Unsurprisingly, there are more minimum level requirements ahead of us. Gortwog doesn't care about the letter. He made a shrine to it, but he doesn't care about it. When we pick up the letter, the orc doors open, and we're attacked by several orcs. But I thought ahead and placed a mark outside the dungeon. We live to flee another day. Oh. So what's so damn important about this letter? The totem of Tiber Septim has been found. The Emperor worries the totem may be used again. the power of Tiber Septim unleashed upon Tamriel once more. He believes it's in the possession of Lord Woodbourne, some unimportant lord in Wayrest. He wrote this letter to Minnesera because she still has some influence in the region, and it would benefit the entire region if she and Lady Brisciana could convince Lord Woodbourne to relinquish the totem. Minnesera claims that Gortwog most likely made several copies of the letter and sold it to everyone from Wayrest to the Underking. Gortwog would stand to gain a lot from an all-out war between the major powers of the Iliac Bay. It's safe to assume the contents of the letter are no longer a secret. Minnesera has nothing more for us. Our job regarding the letter is done, but she's certain the totem will make an appearance in our lives in some way or another. The next quest we're able to do, at least the next one we have the level for, comes from Prince Loten in Sentinel. It's technically optional, but it breadcrumbs into the next important story quest. The problem is, he sometimes doesn't give it to you unless you have high enough reputation with him. How do you check your reputation with specific NPCs? You can't. So we either do quests for random NPCs around the palace in Sentinel and hope he notices us, Senpai, or we bounce back and forth between Temples of Arcay, training medical, so we can skip his quest altogether. Normally, you'd get a letter from him. He'd send you on a personal quest in exchange for information, like you did with Morgaya and Sindasa, then he'd point you in the right direction. But we never got that letter. Maybe it was addressed to the agent in Daggerfall instead of Chipmunk. This also happened when I streamed my first playthrough of Daggerfall, so I don't know what causes it. I suspect doing quests for other provinces might make him like you a bit less. That's my best guess. Level 6. And now we're level 7. We may be contacted by the King of Worms with a new request. This NPC's name is Borpin. Look at him sitting there, straight borping it. Ah, Manamarco's courier. After killing the zombie, we notice a message stitched into its decaying flesh. The King of Worms would like to speak with us at Scourge Barrow. You just know Manamarco was a theater kid. Prince Loten has yet to speak with us, so Zombie Wrangler it is. Wormbreath has more knowledge to share with us, but it comes at a price. A soul. Prince Carolus' soul. Once a great sorcerer, Prince Carolus now spends his days beneath Castle Sentinel as a lich. The King of Worms gives us a special scarab, something like a soul gem. If it is nearby when the lich's physical body is destroyed, his soul will become trapped within the scarab. Return with the soul, and he'll reward us with a tale known only to a select few. Willing to talk yet, Loten? Fine, whatever. I'm gonna steal your uncle's soul, or grandfather's soul, I don't know, your royalty, it's probably both. You're sneaking into the royal palace, running through their corridors without a care, when suddenly, basement centaur. Accept your doom, lay down your weapons? Is Dagoth Ur here? Was that the mummy? This is probably the most complicated dungeon you have to crawl through during the main quest, and it's hard to explain with words. There's just a bunch of levers you need to pull in the correct order, I believe. To raise these blue bars out of the way, there's lots of going up and down elevators. Eventually, we open up all the barriers and can access the corridor flanked by 2 fire-making skill capes. They literally look like something straight out of old school Runescape. Here's our quarry. Liches are not easy to kill. They're incredibly evasive and deal a lot of damage with a single spell. I don't know if this actually works, but I think if you strafe around an enemy fast enough, you can get behind them and hit them with a backstab strike, dealing 3 times more damage. Of course, this is easier to do if the enemy isn't aware of your presence. That's how stealth works in Daggerfall, by the way. Attacking from sneak doesn't give bonus damage, but sneaking allows you to get behind an enemy for a backstab. But a backstab isn't a guaranteed hit, so you could still miss and then they'll be alerted to your presence, so I wouldn't fish for them. This is the strategy I went with. Attack the Lich while weaving in and out of its range, and once I fail to dodge its magic, assuming the hit doesn't kill me, run away until there's enough distance that I can rest and restore my health. Enemies don't regenerate health the same way the player does. At least, Liches don't. Finally. Jeff Bridges? With Prince Carolus' soul in hand, we return to the King of Worms, and he offers up information about the Underking. Someone outside the Septim line ought to know. Following Septim's conquest of Tamriel, his own Imperial battle mage, Zurin Arctis, betrayed him. When Zurin died, his soul remained bound to his body. Why is a mystery, but it seems to have something to do with the Numidium. Ever since, Zurin Arctis has lived on as the Underking, an undead husk missing its soul. Perhaps he can relate to the Vestige from the Second Era, the player character from Elder Scrolls Online, which a lot of people say isn't canon, but I'm sorry, it is. It's canon, and some of that canon is pretty neat. It's the only Elder Scrolls game with a variety of Khajiit first stock, so I think that's worth something.
Rari once thought to travel Tamriel in order to broaden his knowledge. He made it as far as Gratwood before realizing that few were willing to speak seriously to a magical talking cat. And so, he stays in Rimmen.
Agents of the Underking have been contesting with the King of Worms and his necromancers for centuries. Wormy here says that the Underking regaining his physical body would spell doom for Tamriel, but I think he's a biased party. Also, he's clearly a bad guy. Look at him. But he's not all bad because he gave us more than he promised. Along with the information, an enchanted bracer. We pay a small fee to identify the item at the Mages Guild, and this item happens to come with a fireball spell. If we need to cast a fireball at something, we've got the option. That Lich fight made me realize how desperately we need some means of in-combat healing. Restoration magic is out of the question, since we've hardly got any spell points. But there are potions. We can't make potions ourselves, but several guilds have potion makers you can access with a high enough rank. Bring them the ingredients, and they make the potions. However, several guilds also have potion vendors. The Temple of Archay, which we've already joined, will sell us potions at rank 1. To get that rank, we just need to do a couple quests. Most guild quests in Daggerfall are pretty similar. Bring a thing to someone, fetch a thing from a dungeon, kill a dude, kill a thing. Simple stuff. The first one we've got is to exorcise an undead that's been haunting a house over in Shalgora. Exorcisms are a delicate process in the Elder Scrolls universe, so we'll need to be careful. Be blessed, my child, by fist and by fury. Next, we gotta fetch a guy from some ruins. He's a fellow member of the Order, and it seems he got drunk and wandered days away from the temple. He's in the ruins of the Hold of Kinging. Are you kidding me? We go to the ruins, beat the shit out of all the enemies until one of them jumps into our backpack. Yeah. We bring him back to the temple. Simple as that. We're now a rank 1 arcade boy, and the potion seller will sell us his strongest potions. Health potions, fatigue potions, free action potions, slow fall, levitation, and, what I didn't know existed until this point in the run, potions of teleport. I didn't need the archaeologist mod at all. What's great about this vendor, and most vendors, or maybe all vendors, is his stock refreshes every time you open the shop window. The potions he carries seem to be random, but if he doesn't have the specific one you're looking for, just try again. Some of them are kind of expensive, but who cares? We're adventuring on the Tulun Bank's dime. We're gonna stock up real good, buy a bit more than we think we'll need. That's the benefit of not being able to wear armor. You have a lot of carry weight available for potions. Ah, level 8. What a scenic place to level up to. I was beating up people in a crypt. Oh, now this little prick talks to me. The prince may know why King Lysandas's ghost is haunting Daggerfall, but he'd like us to do something for him in return. Nothing is free in the world. Loten has a brother, Phagon, and whenever he asks what happened to him, he gets different answers. He got sick and died, he was kidnapped by the Underking. Loten just wants the truth. Waiting around Sentinel for a few days results in a courier delivering us a message, and as is always the case, the courier vanishes before I can get a single answer from them. The note is about Phagon. The anonymous author of the note would like to meet at random bar in random place in Sentinel. The names don't matter. The Underking, our contact says, will not abide to this slander. He did not kidnap the former prince. He seemed fine with the rumors before I heard about them, but whatever. She tells us if we want to know the truth, we must go to Castle Falum. And sure enough, we find a stray note sitting alone in a closet, the final testament of Prince Phagon. He was a sickly child, bookish and meek, but the heir to the throne of Sentinel nonetheless. Aubki, his first sibling, was the obvious favorite of his parents. His first brother was named Greklith, strong king in ancient Redguard. His second brother, Loten, was named Second Boy, his parents' third son. I think you know what's going to happen next. His parents weren't very subtle. Shortly after recovering from a long bout of fevers, while out on a walk, Phagon was seized by strange men, bound and gagged, and hauled off to this dungeon. They left him here, surrounded by monsters and undead creatures. Even if he could escape, he had no idea where he was. This place would be his tomb. Phagon was 15 years old when he wrote this note. He seemed like a sensible kid. Perhaps his parents should have just told him to abdicate. I'm sure he would have understood. Join the Mages Guild, become a priest. But no, monarchs can never do the rational thing. First thing that pops into their head, they gotta do it. Oh, I'm just now realizing that fever was probably the result of a poisoning too. What awful parents. Loten is grateful for this information, if a bit saddened. At least he knows what happened to his brother. His parents are friggin' murderers. As promised, Loten pays us with information. Lysandas was in love with his court sorceress, Medora Dureni. Yep, the conflict is caused by infidelity. Tale as old as time. Minnesera, queen at the time, learned of this affair during the war, and while Lysandas was away, she banished Medora from the court. Loten doesn't know exactly where Medora is, but she does have a castle in the Isle of Balfiera. Maybe she can help us further. Loten also gives us a shitty sword we won't be using. The first time I came to Durrani Tower, on my first playthrough of Daggerfall, was a nightmare. I really didn't want to use a guide to help me navigate through this place, so I was lost for some time. After using a guide, you realize how quick it is to go from the entrance of this place to exactly where you gotta go. And that's a good thing because you gotta make this trip several times. Turn the wheel, fight the thick vampire woman, god damn, run up the stairs, returning to the entrance. The wheel pushed the wall, revealing a new path. Follow the path past the support beams until you enter a torture chamber with a random-ass brick wall for a door. It's a teleporter, don't think too much about it. Go left, climb a spiral staircase, and activate another brick wall. Go out the left door and activate these chains. They cast levitate on you for some reason. Ascend to the walkway on the northern wall, the one with 2 staircases, and take the western staircase up. Continue west down the zigzagging corridor, and be careful not to... It's hard to explain this in words, but follow the zigzag staying to the right until the wall stops zigzagging, then take a left, and then a right. Hopefully you end up near this banner with a bull on it. If you didn't, Christ, I don't know, man, this shit's a mess. Go down the stairs opposite the banner, kill the ghost, it just died, and pull the lever on the east and west sides of this pillar. It'll open the correct walls, allowing you passage through the snaking hallway south of the pillar. Finally, you'll arrive at Medora Durrani's chambers, which she shares with a damn lich. You could try killing it, or you could do what I do. Speak with Durrani and pretend it's not there. We'll just teleport out anyway. Medora would like to help us exorcise the spirit of King Lysandus, but there's not much she can do until the curse on her tower is lifted. Seems Minnesera was a bit more thorough with Medora's exile than we thought. Lysandus' mother, Nafalga, is a renowned mystic, but the grief of losing her son has left her a bit... crazy. Regardless, we have to go to Nafalga's lair, Shedungan, and retrieve the horn of a great unicorn. Have you ever wondered why it's called a unicorn and not a unihorn? It's because the Latin word for horn was cornus, which is also where we get the word cornucopia, because it looks like a horn. Unicorn, one horn. Once we get the horn, we'll have to bring it back to this very spot, so you might think it'd be prudent to place an anchor here so we could teleport back and not have to run through the dungeon again. Don't do this. You'll be trapped. Those levers we pulled move the walls, and the walls reset upon re-entering the dungeon, meaning when you teleport back in, the walls will block the corridor, and you won't be able to escape. You'll soft lock yourself, and you'll have to reload a new save. Or, you could do what I did in my first playthrough, use console commands. Shedungan is another nightmare, but after you beat the main quest, Nafalga actually tells you the password to go through her front door, and since I know it, I'm gonna use it. Shut up. That's actually what it is. I'm not being dismissive of anyone who has an issue with me using the shortcut, but if you do, shut up. Enter the doorway across from where you came in, and follow the corridor until you come to a fork where the left path is a flight of stairs. Take the stairs, but if they're too heavy, just climb them. Approach the first 4-way junction and go south, following the path until you arrive at a T-junction. A bit further forward, there's a path on the left that seemingly leads to a dead end. Backtrack to the T-junction, and activate the lantern on the wall. That makes the corridor elongate. It's very exciting for the corridor. Oh no, a wall drops. That makes more sense. Take a right at the top of the slope, and open the hidden door in the corner of the room. The horn is right there. If you think this is convoluted, wait till you see the final dungeon. We return to Durrani Tower, taking the same path through this place as we did the first time. The Lich is still a nuisance, but we can ignore him. Using the horn, Medora can lift the curse Minnesera placed upon her tower. She gives us a helmet as a reward, but it's not made out of Colovian fur, so it's disgusting. Also, we can't wear armor anyway. Now we have to wait. Medora's been stuck in this place for a minute, so she needs to sort some things out. Personally, I don't think she was actually cursed. I think she just couldn't find her way out of the damn place. After we left, she just looked over the CCTV footage and she saw how we did it. While awaiting a message from Medora, we get a missive from Akarithi, Queen of Sentinel. You know, the woman who killed her son. She'd like to have a word with us. She can wait. After traveling around the bay and waiting around like a doofus for who knows how long, I realized Medora won't contact us for the next quest unless we're level 10. So, back to training. Level 9. Training's getting a bit expensive, so we'll swing by a bank and borrow a bit more money. They'll extend a letter of credit up to 450,000 septims. Well, I mean, if they're offering, it'd be rude not to take it. And never again will I return to Northmoor. After training a few dodging levels with the Order of Akatosh, who charge a premium for non-members, we hit level 10 and are immediately contacted by Medora via telepathy. She's discovered a powder that can soothe the ghost of Lysandus, but it's in the hands of someone we've already met, Gortwog, warlord of the orcs. Respecting the memory of King Lysandus, Gortwog agrees to tell us the location of the Dust of Restful Death. Yeah, Medora misspoke, it seems. Gortwog doesn't actually have the dust, he just knows where we could find it. It's in the ruins of Old Barber's Place on Medora's very own island. You know, Babs' haunt from back in the day. Great lady, that Bobby. Shame about all those murder charges though. The dust spawns in a random dungeon, so unlike the main story dungeons, it's simplified significantly due to the optional adjustment that comes with Daggerfall Unity. We find the dust wrapped in a missive. It's only somewhat legible. It seems Gortwog was in contact with Medora, warning her that someone intends to slay Lysandus, and that he will desperately need her support if he deigns to defend the king. Attacking royal advisors from Wayrest, whether or not they're assassins, would ruin any chance the orcs had of gaining the same respect as Khajiit and Argonians. We bring the dust to Medora, running through her tower once again, avoiding her lich consort, and quickly speaking with her. Obviously, she had never received the letter Gortwog sent. Regardless, the warriors he sent to protect the king were themselves slain. But why would King Eadwire of Wayrest want to kill King Lysandus anyway? What are his aims? While Medora ponders this, she gets to work preparing the dust of restful death, and tells us to return in a month when it's ready. Okay, let's leave the dungeon again, travel across the bay, and travel back, and charge through this damn tower for a fourth time. With the powder now ready, Medora says all we need to do is sprinkle it on Lysandus' corpse. It, on its own, won't soothe his ghost, but it will give us a chance to speak with him. Whether he's willing to rest afterward is his own choosing. Where's his body though? There's a monument to him in Cryngane, but that's not where he's buried. Well, if you know where the dungeon is, you can just go there on foot. But Daggerfall's overworld is oppressively huge, misjudge the angle of your travel, and you might miss your destination completely. Instead, we'll get the exact location of his body. Akarithi, Queen of Sentinel, had summoned us some time ago. Actually, not that long ago, but some time ago in game time. And it's because she wants someone to retrieve an heirloom of the late King Lysandus from Castle Wayrest. Like Castle Sentinel, Castle Wayrest also has an unorthodox dungeon instead of an in-law apartment. We go through the giant doors leading to the furthest back courtroom and enter the door on the northern wall. We take a left, then a right through the door, kill a dude and steal his wallet, enter a room of a dozen corpses, and lo! Another plain-ass brick wall, then a second, and a third. Leave the torture chamber through the only door out, and head right, then left, right again, then continue down the path, ignoring the T-junction on your left. Keep ascending the ramps until you see a door straight ahead of you. Opening it should reveal a sewer. Run along the edge of the sewer, ignoring the dregs stalking you, until you get to the opposite side of the sewer. There will be a door, but that's not where you want to go. Just under the door, in the water, is a secret passageway. Fight through the dreg and the out-of-place zombie, kill the iron lung slaughterfish, God, sprite art never disappoints, and go through the eastern door above the water. Jump through the hole in the wall. Yeah, you could just do that. Just crouch while jumping. Not activate sneak. Activating sneak and crouching is different. Aren't you glad the game never made a point of needing to crouch a single time up until this point? Go right down the hall and deck the enemy in the face if you want to, then take another right and go through the door at the end of the hallway. Take the door on your left. Again, if it's too heavy to pick up, just open it and go through. Up the stairs, through the door, and down the hallway, taking your first left and ignoring the upcoming door on your next left. Go through the door at the end of this descending corridor and continue onward, deeper under the castle. This is ridiculous. You'll finally find yourself in a fancy room with an altar of sorts in the middle. On the altar is the heirloom Akarithi asked us to get. If we use the painting, we get a good look at it. It's a shifting depiction of several men wearing Wayrest livery, and they're debating a single man wearing the Daggerfall coat of arms. One of the Wayrest men moves behind the Daggerfall man and stabs him in between the ribs, killing him. Akarithi is upset that we saw what the painting revealed. Matters of royalty, she says, are meant to be dealt with by royalty. But she murdered her own son, so fuck her. Shortly after completing this quest, we'll receive another letter from a courier who books it before we have a chance to figure out who it was. Why we still bother trying to communicate with these guys is anyone's guess. An agent of the Underking wishes to meet with us at the Garesmith residence of Screaming Priest Inn in Sentinel. Screaming Priest Inn is a location, and there are buildings at that location. Very strange. The agent would like us to retrieve an artifact for the Underking. The King of Worms and his ilk stole a helmet upon which they placed a curse and handed it off to the Empire's blades. The Underking wishes no harm upon the blades and would like us to remove the helmet from Castle Lugwich in Ikolon. In exchange for our service, we can get what I can only assume is the de facto currency of the Iliac Bay. Information. Makes sense why bankers are so willing to just give me a bunch of gold. Lugwich is a pretty simple dungeon to navigate, admittedly. Nothing too absurd, just turn this way, turn that way, go up the elevator, turn again, standard stuff. We take the helm and teleport back to the agent of the Underking. For this service, we're rewarded with the location of Lysandus' tomb, the location of Lysandus' body. He also lets us keep the helm, but who cares? Lysandus' tomb is in the province of Menevia, and because we did the quest, it's just marked on our map as Lysandus' tomb. How convenient. You'd think this dungeon would be needlessly complicated considering the stakes that have built up thus far, but compared to the other dungeons, it's pretty tame. The first and only bizarre part of it is the teleporter skull. Like brick walls, sometimes you'll find skulls hovering in the air that will teleport you when you activate them. I don't know why, it's just whatever. After doing that, it's just a matter of going left and right and up and down until you arrive at a room that looks very cold and wet. It's probably not wet, but it feels wet. By pulling the lever in the southeastern corner of the room, the floor opens up, leading to a hidden sub-room, because finding this place wasn't deterrent enough to keep people away. You had to hide the thing in the hidden place. And this here is Lysandus' tomb. We sprinkle the dust on him, and...
You soothe my rage. I do not seek to be placated. I seek vengeance upon he who slew me. If you would truly lay my spirit to rest, be the instrument of my vengeance against Lord Woodborn of Wayrest.
Okay. Are we done? Alright. Thanks, Dave from the Bethesda sales department, for doing the voice of King Lysandus. So, only vengeance may soothe his soul. If only his ghost had been screaming more than just vengeance and maybe gave us a name, we'd have solved that problem some time ago. He says he was killed by Lord Woodborn. Doesn't that name sound familiar? It's tough for me to say, I don't know why. Lord Woodborn. I want to say Lord Woodburn. He's the same guy the Emperor believes to be in possession of the Totem of Tiber Septim. If that's true, we'll be knocking out 2 tasks in one go. Awesome. We already have Lord Woody's estate on our map, so let's just break into his house and kick his teeth in. Centaur, easy, spooky guard trying to do a jump scare. I recommend not coming here until you have some form of levitation. Either a spell, an item, or a potion. I have the latter, thankfully. It lets you skip an entire puzzle with raising and lowering platforms, levers, and whatnot. Just levitate up. After that, the rest of the dungeon is pretty short and simple. You know you found Lord Woodborn when an NPC berates you for being a thorn in his side. And yes, this is him. When Daggerfall randomly spawns an enemy, they don't take into account gender, so sometimes you'll get somebody who's referred to as a guy who spawns as a woman, or vice versa.
King Lysandus is at last able to rest. The wraiths and ghosts of his loyal soldiers vanish as his soul passes to the underworld, leaving the city of Daggerfall to the living.
Once again, excellent work, Dave. No Totem of Tiber Septim, it seems. I guess we're not quite finished, huh? Another letter. Lady Brisciana would like to meet us at location in province at building. Brisciana tells us the Blade sacked Woodborn Hall in search of the totem, but it was nowhere to be found. They suspect it's now in the hands of Gothred, King of Daggerfall. How did he get it? I don't know, maybe he was in cahoots with Woodborn to assassinate Lysandus and get the totem. We've already infiltrated Castle Sentinel and Castle Wayrest. Infiltrating Castle Daggerfall would complete the set. Time to steal the totem. Fortunately, Castle Daggerfall isn't very maze-like, but the puzzle at the end is a bit indecipherable. We eventually make it to a room built like a stepwell with a giant box floating in the middle. Those blue bars can be moved, but we need to find and pull the correct lever. At the bottom of this stepwell-esque construction is some water. Okay, maybe it's not stepwell-esque, it might just be a stepwell. We've got several tunnels going in each direction. We take the eastern tunnel on the south wall, dispatch the ice atronach, and turn the cogwheel on the wall. This lowers the box hovering in the middle of the room. Taking the southmost tunnel on the eastern wall leads us to a room with 3 chains. One casts water breathing on us, and the other 2 teleport us to a different part of the room. Yeah. We pull a chain, appear at the top of the stepwell, and jump atop the floating box. Up here, there's a lever, and when we pull it, some of the blue barriers will vanish, letting us into the cubby containing a little babushka-looking thing. This is the Totem of Tiber Septim. Be not afraid of the swaddled baby doll. The totem tells us we're not worthy of using the totem. Only those of Tiber's bloodline may carry it. I don't know how precise that statement is, since you could give the totem to Gortwog and he can use it, but maybe Tiber Septim is like Genghis Khan and he raped his way across Tamriel. Who gets the totem is your choice to make, and now that we have it, we'll be receiving a lot of attention from the many rulers in the region. We got letters coming from couriers and skeletal hands stuffing notes into our backpack. They all promise different things. Akarithi offers us 100,000 gold pieces. Ooh. Manamarco offers us nothing but fame. Wow. The other leaders offer similar worldly things of little importance. But then there's the Underking. He offers us the Necromancer's Amulet, an artifact that grants, among other things, spell absorption. Where we're going, I think the spell absorption may come in handy. And the Underking just wants to die. He's seen enough, and he just wants his soulless existence to end. I get it. We meet with his agent, hand over the totem, and we receive the amulet, as promised. After delivering the totem, Nifalga sends us a message via telepathy. She would like us to return to Shadungan because our work is not yet done. As soon as we talk to her, she recites some kind of prophecy and tells us whoever we give the totem to will ultimately command the Great Numidium. What we must now do is acquire the Mantella from within the Mantellan crux. And before we can object, we are thrust into a different world, into Aetherius. Okay, so this final dungeon is absolute ass. I'm just gonna say it. It's like the designers wrote down a bunch of ideas on a whiteboard, and the developers saw it and said, oh, we're doing all this? Okay, cool. And they just added it all. The enemies here are whatever. Punch the sexy bat ladies, fine, cool, you're good. It's the puzzles, if you could call them that. First, descend to the lower level with the Frost Daedra. You'll see 4 random doors. Open the southernmost door, but not the other ones. How would you know to do this? Because shut up. Next, levitate up to the Space Mountain Maintenance Shaft. But don't worry if you didn't bring any way to levitate. They thought ahead, and they made the bust on the ground cast levitate on you, because that's what statues do. Go through the corridor, the heavenly, otherworldly cobblestone corridor of Aetherius that looks like every other dungeon in the game, and pull this lever to move the blue barrier blocking a different corridor. Uh-oh, bird lady. Pull more levers and continue forward. Assuming you pulled the correct levers, the blue barrier blocking the bottom of this island should have opened. Walk in and you just teleport, I guess. Leave the room you popped into and get ready to fight a bunch of bullshit. Gargoyles and ancient vampires. Activating this tombstone tells us the spirit of the benefactor lies here. Okay, using the bracer of fireballs we got from the King of Worms ages ago, we dispatch all the vampires from a distance and activate the tombstones because you just gotta activate everything you see because that's how the game works. A couple of them do something, but I don't trust this game not to troll me, so we click on all of them. We enter the bottom of this floating island, now accessible due to the fact that we clicked a tombstone, and we pull another lever. This did something. We levitate all the way to the top, past the inconspicuous pyramid, and enter another maintenance shaft. At the end, we meet a spooky gray dude standing by a bed. Why is there a bed here? It's because the guy, he's in Aetherius, he's gotta sleep. We say his name, Benefactor, and that opens the final trapdoor on the top of a pyramid. Yeah, that's why we clicked on the tombstone and pulled a lever. It opened the other 2 doors. You may be thinking, oh, this is a bit much, but it's not that horrible. Just wait. Deeper into the pyramid we go. Oh, a pit with an enemy. It's only logical that when I jump in, I'll be teleported to my next destination. Wow, this next part is okay. Open the doors around the central upside down building thing, and you'll find a lever. Pull the lever, and go around to the door on the other side of this building, and activate the polygon. Another teleport. At least this teleport makes sense because it's a weird geometry crystal. This next room is insidious. If you go through this door, you get teleported into a cage. How do you get out? You don't. You're trapped. You gotta reload a save. Nice work, dickhead. Up until this point, nothing like that has ever happened. So there's no reason for the player to expect such a thing is even possible. You're supposed to go through the southern door and follow the corridor until you make it to this fucking room, the skull room. It's simple. Touch the skulls that are looking at the big skull in the sky. But if you touch the wrong skull, not only may you get teleported out of the room, but a barrier could appear behind the barrier you're trying to get rid of in the eye of the big skull. So even if you touch the correct skulls, you have to touch the incorrect one again to undo what you did. And if you didn't know that the incorrect skull did a thing that you didn't want it to do, you wouldn't know to undo it. When you touch the correct skulls, and only the correct skulls, the barrier blocking the eyes of the big skull in the center of the room will fall, allowing you to enter. You can also have a chat with Sheogorath. He's here. Honestly, it makes sense. This place is driving me nuts. Down the elevator and, oh, a riddle. The answer is 1. Okay. Now we're in a magically locked room. We get out by activating the different skull on the shelves. At least this puzzle keeps you in place. You don't get teleported into a room with a long hallway leading in 10 different directions, all for the purpose of misdirection. You're stuck in this room, you gotta figure out how to get out of it. Surely there's some secret they left somewhere. And in this case, there happens to be. Oh, another teleporty pit. At least we know that's a thing now. What do we do here? Well, obviously you jump to this platform and teleport again. Oh, there's a secret door, of course. Answer Sheogorath's riddle. What's his favorite weapon? A crossbow, because the map looks vaguely like a crossbow. Now when we teleport with the teleport pit, we'll find a small cavern in the ground has opened up. We activate the thingy, and the thingy does a thing, and things start thinging. Oh look, a giant crossbow. Obviously you're supposed to stand where a bolt normally would be, and activate this axe right here, so the crossbow launches us upward, where Exor turns into a bridge that we can use to ascend even higher. And finally, we make it to the Mantellan crux. We levitate over and grab the Master Emerald, the Mantella. I hate Aetherius. I need to do a full retrospective on this game. It is such a mixed bag of high highs and low lows. My god, are those lows low. Just a brief retrospective. 5 or 6 hours. People seem to like those videos. We teleport back to Nifalga, where we watch the ending cutscene.
Centuries of undead sleep are shaken off, rousing the Underking. No mortal force can stop his fateful reunion with the ghost of his heart, and he joins with it in an all-consuming fiery embrace, and for just one moment, his flesh and blood, then blessed death is granted to Kynareth Septims battle mage.
Well, good job, Chipmunk. You did it. The dragon broke, and everyone got control of the Numidium. The warp in the west has begun, and although time has shattered, you're still stuck in the past. It seems you'll need to travel to the future the old-fashioned way. Waiting. It's a good thing you're immortal from the whole Corpus and Nerevarine thing, otherwise the next 30 years would really take a toll on you. Maybe wait an extra 200 years and see what other adventures await.